Well, hello and welcome to Smart Impressions. I'm Rachel and I have such a beautiful guest with me today. So if you are standing in your life and not sure if you are going in the right direction, then I got no one other than the great, inspiring Amrit Sandhu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. Really grateful to be here and just, appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
It's so great to have you. And I want to now give you your proper intro because he has not only inspired and coached people on every continent on this planet, but he continues to go intergalactic as he inspires many, many millions on YouTube with his show Inspired Evolution. And if the title doesn't tell you that it's incredible to make miles and miles of effects and ripple effects around the world, then you are just so blessed to be here with our show today. And I'm blessed to know him, talk to him, and have him as my coach. Amrit, our show is all about that soulful success. So are you ready to get this party started?
I'm so excited. I can't wait for your questions. Let's see where this takes us today.
Oh, can't wait is right. And there is no doubt that sometimes people just don't feel connected, right? They may just get caught up in the day-to-day. Every single entrepreneur is out there. Every single business owner is out there trying to get through each day at a time. And it comes with many struggles. And sometimes finding and aligning their purpose, not just sometimes, I think all the times, is really where business and authentic connections can really elevate everyone to where they're meant to be. So I want to jump into this conversation and really find out from your perspective, how do people, individuals, professionals really shift into, how do they shift into a state of connecting if they're not there, if they're not even aware, and if they're really missing where they're meant to be?
Yeah, the first place to start is to understand what you're connecting to, right? So ultimately, you're not really sure like who you are versus what you're connecting to, what you're doing in the world. The key place to start is to a healthy dose of self-awareness, right? So if you can take some time to get to know yourself, the key thing that I would like to start most people off on is to really understand their values. Now, I'm a little bit Indian, well, not a little bit Indian, my heritage is Indian. So pardon me for how this is going to sound, but my body is a temple. So the values that you hold are the pillars of the temple that is you, right? And why are these so important? Because a lot of what you're doing in your life, like we've all heard about Simon Sinek's work and the importance of the why, understanding your why, but oftentimes it's very difficult to discern even your why because our whys get hijacked by society. We grow up a certain way trying to please our parents, please our mother, please our father, please our social groups, please our community, please our country. We're consistently trying to live into somebody else's why, right? And so how do you discern as to whether what your why is, what you're doing, why you're even in business, the business that you're in, what you're showing up for every single day is in alignment to who you are and what you're up to? The key thing in there is to discover your values. Now, there's a whole workshop there, like 20-minute masterclass, inspiredevolution.com/values for those that want to go discover their values. It just takes 20 minutes to discover yours. To give you an example, I'm connection, contribution, and celebration. Right. So these are the three pillars of who I am. And so that when you start talking about connection, it's like if I'm not connected to connection, contribution, and celebration, naturally a lot of, like, this is going to sound extreme, but dis-ease, like I start to feel uncomfortable. I start to feel like I'm having an existential crisis. I worked in corporate construction for about 7.5 years there. I had a really tough time with that particular role that I was doing because there was no connection in it. There was very little contribution in there and there was very little celebration, right? So if anything, there was like some modicum of contribution, but like I wasn't really living into my values. I wasn't connected to who I really was put here on the planet to sort of do, right? So now you take a look at podcasting, coaching, speaking, right? So the opportunity to connect. Let's just take podcasting as an example. I get the opportunity to connect to people all over the world, contribute to people all over the world, celebrate. Hopefully people leave even just this conversation here today a little bit richer, a little bit fuller. Think about coaching, right? Having worked with 360 different people, one-on-one, diving deep, connection, contribution, celebration, public speaking, connection, contribution, celebration. So understanding what you're connecting to, the first place to start is understanding your values so you can connect to them, so you can connect to yourself, so you're living deeply into what it is that you're put here to do. Now, sneakily, underneath all of that, what you'll find is that's where you're most energized. That's where you have the most passion anyway, right? Because you value that stuff. Like I could show up for this conversation today, dog tired, and I'd leave the conversation super energized because I'm connecting with nature, connecting with all the biz advisors, biz angels, all these incredible people, right? We're talking about leaving smart impressions. There's a contribution being made here. There's a celebration, celebratory vibe here. All of that energizes me. It's true to my authentic being. So when you're talking about connection, I think you're trying to lean into authenticity there. To understand your authentic self, you need to discover your values.
And why is that self-awareness, transformation, why is that so important in business relationships? How are you seeing people like that are not connected or missing out on that?
It's a great question, because let's take a look at let's just look at there's so many aspects, but let's just take decision making as a really easy, low hanging fruit, right? So about 5 years ago, Mindvalley was establishing their coaching programs, and they were looking for coaches to come. For those that don't know Mindvalley, they do their personal development 101. They do a lot of great work around the planet. Massive personal development company around the world. Now I was one of their trainers, and they said, hey, would you be interested in being one of our coaches to establish our coaching program? And I took a grand total of 10 seconds to kind of go, will I connect to people? Yes. Will I contribute to people? Yes. Will I celebrate of people? Will there be more celebration in the world because of this? And immediately I was like, yes. And I did all that internal checking internally, right? It was all inside. And immediately I was like, yes. They're like, oh no, you can take your time. Come back to us tomorrow. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm a yes. And right. I remember looking at their faces kind of going, this guy's a bit weird. How did he already make a decision that could impact? And so, but for me, it was really obvious that this was aligned to my values. This was a decision right for me. Now you can imagine now, Touchwood, with the YouTube channel, the coaching practice, the public speaking tours, with where we're at right now, opportunities are flooding in all the time. It wasn't the case 5 years ago, but even today, opportunities hit me more often than I can say yes to, right? Touchwood, it's an amazing problem to have, but it's an absolute blessing. But nonetheless, if I said yes to every opportunity, which, I've run the risk of doing, I'm going to run myself ragged. So the quick audit is to kind of go, okay, is this going to promote more connection? Is this going to promote more contribution? Is this going to promote more celebration? And if it's a yes to all three, then it's a yes for me. Then I know that I need to carve out time and energy for this opportunity. My decision-making alone is so much more streamlined, right? Some people lean into intuition. I think that's useful, but you can practically understand what opportunities are for you and what opportunities aren't for you. That's one place to start, right? When we talk about conflict resolution, I know you've got a different value set to me. Think about how many relationships and dynamics you have in the workplace, right? Now, I look at, this is the workplace, but one of my partners, she's my wife, so, but she's my partner. My partner, when I look at her, because I've called her partner because she helps a lot in the business at times as well. Now, she in particular has a very, her highest value is integrity. My highest value is connection. And we end up in situations where, I'll give you an example. One time we were moving out of our home. We lived in this really nice apartment here in Melbourne CBD. We had to book the lift to leave the building. We booked the lift. We went upstairs to meet the guy to book the lift for us. This guy's toxic. Building manager, really difficult to deal with. Just one of those people that you just don't want to deal with. Yeah. Anyway, we go in, we book our lift, we leave. In the middle, after we left, my wife, my then girlfriend, now wife, turns to me and she goes, hey, Amrit, why didn't you say something to him? And I said, what was I? And I realized, oh shit, my wife, my partner, she thinks I should have said something. And now I could have totally gone into a spiral there, as in I'm not showing up adequate, I'm not. Now, I did a quick audit check, and this is the interesting thing. When you become more self-aware of yourself, you automatically become more self-aware of others. So I looked at my values, connection, contribution, celebration. I was like, I just wanted to get out of there because none of those values were present in that situation. I looked across at my wife and immediately I had the visceral realization, your highest value is integrity. So in your integrity, you wanted to stand there and be like, yo, it's not okay to treat people like that. My highest value is connection. I'm like, I don't want to connect to any of this. Peace, I'm out. Yeah. And so now she's not wrong and I'm not wrong and I'm not emasculinated. It's just hey, we're coming from different places, and actually diversity, we all know how important that is for business. It's so that's relationships. So we've got decision-making, we've got relationships, you've got opportunities. There's so many aspects where just understanding your values helps you navigate the waters so much more cleanly. You don't have to get stuck and hung up on things that would usually take time, like decision-making, take time going down opportunities that aren't made for you. That's why people, when they're successful business people, have even values of the business, right? They're like, these are the values of our business, and these are how we're going to partner with people, and these are the work we're going to show up with. And a healthy business, its values are in alignment with the CEO's or the leadership team's values as well, because then that energy is flowing very fluidly. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I love this. I mean, like in an ideal world, would you want, basically people to have on their shirt their top 3 values so you can like pick them up? Because imagine the connection you can have with, once you are understanding what other people's value, like what you just shared, with your wife, like you are clearly very aware, very conscious. And in order to pick that up, that's a special trait. And it's not so easy when these values may be hidden, or maybe something that's not shared so often. I mean, how often are you sitting with a friend and going, hey, what are your values? But there's no doubt something energetically you'll feel a disconnect, right?
Well, very much so. And you generally connect with people over values. Like you and I probably share a value of connection, right? You look at like unlocking business relationships, one connection at a time, right? Connection's my highest value. You and I connect so deeply. And so like we're connected, right? Now business relationships form there, like so many, like you start to see it everywhere now that I've sort of mentioned it to you. Your values, you'll start mirroring and connecting with people based on the things that you value. And interestingly, it's not just what you value. In fact, it also goes the other way. It's where the value that the world gets from you lies as well. Right. So I'm really good at connecting people to people and people to ideas, podcast, coach, speaker. Right. And that's the value that I deliver. I'm connecting people to people, people to ideas, ideas to ideas, and ideas to people. That's my whole Jim Jam. Right. So touch wood, that's also like values go both ways. It's what you value out of life, but it's also the value that others will get from you.
I love that. And I know, I mean, I can't tell you how appreciative I am that we are even connected. And I love that the global world is now digital. As much as I hate it sometimes for my children, I love the opportunities of connecting with people around the world is now possible, right? For our generation, which is such a special time. And it gets even more deeper than that we can share this information and we can really impact and make effects for many, many people that listen to this podcast and beyond, right? So I wanted to just remind you that we are only on a 15-minute New York City quick minute show. And so I can't believe we're at 12 minutes already. I want to make sure that everyone leaves with some 3 top tips of what they can do if they're looking to align their business with their bigger purpose or higher needs of what they need to do in order to be connected with the right people, the right values. What would you say are top 3 they can walk away with today?
The first thing is, please do make your way, inspiredevolution.com/values. I know it sounds super loaded, me plugging that, but honestly, 20 minutes from now, you could be just as clear as I am on my values for yourself, right? And from there, you have so much to go on. Yeah, like you literally know, all this stuff that hasn't been working wasn't for me in the first place. That's why it hasn't been working. And all this stuff that is working and why it's working. The way you're going to attract people into your business, talent into your business, the decisions you're going to, everything we've been discussing thus far, totally activated by you understanding your values. The next thing in there, I think, is really important to understand. The 3 biggest problems that I see for most people is, first, they don't know like what their vision is, or like authentically who they are, right? So that's the biggest problem that we first initially come to when it comes to living in alignment to your purpose. It's like, what even is my purpose? So the key thing in there is understanding your values. Also, we generally like to audit your life in terms of having a look at what are some of the biggest challenges you've been in and that you've resolved in your life. This is just one thing I learned from my podcast, having interviewed 500 of some of the world's most incredible thought leaders. Your biggest challenges are your biggest gifts, right? Like that's just, you see that again and again. Classic example, Marissa Peer, she's a hypnotherapist to stars, celebrities, the royals. She was a maid and she was told she was never going to amount to anything. And like she was just consistently told she wasn't enough. And now she runs like one of the world's leading hypnotherapy, rapid transformation therapy practices and teaching other people to become therapists. And her whole thing is, you are enough. She had to overcome and slay that dragon, right? So understand your challenges, understand your gifts, know your strengths, right? The next part in there is building out a vision. Like you got to know a vision. So these 3 pillars kind of build into you building out a compass for where you're going. The second biggest piece is, okay, now you know where you're going, but generally what we find is people then find it very difficult to believe that they're actually cut out for that incredible dream that they've just carved out. So that's the next big piece, is mindset. And then the third piece from there is actually finding the accountability, taking the action steps to actually go in and live what you need to. That's where things like coachings, programs, support, business mentorship can really, really, really help. So those are the three big pain points I've seen. And then, yeah, we work together to sort of address those. Hopefully that answers your question.
Bam! I'm like, drop the mic. That's how we roll. I mean, Amrit, you can't say it better than that. I mean, I am so grateful for your expertise and information to share with my network. This is going across LinkedIn. I invite you to jump on the conversation. If you got questions for Amrit, please jump in. We want to hear from you. We want to know exactly what you're thinking. And does this really align to what you've been thinking lately? Just the other day, I went to funny enough, Vishan from Mindvalley was in town in Dubai, and he was here for a big event. He had a whole bunch of speakers that were here to really
a great venue.
Absolutely. It was great. And I met someone that basically said, you know, I'm feeling like you find a lot of people that are like disconnected, like, you know, they're not there yet. They don't know their path. They don't know their way. And it's okay just to stay exactly where you are today. But I think if you're here, if you're listening, then you're meant to be here. And I'm so happy to share this conversation, so short, but so sweet, with Amrit today. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Oh, Rachel, it is always such an honor and a pleasure. And just the heart you bring to everything you do is just it's such a gift, and it's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So much love and gratitude for everything you do.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you again. And thank you for listening. Listen, it's Soulful Success. I want to make sure you're getting there, aligning your purpose with business for your authentic connections, doing it better every day. And if you're not feeling right, then you got to get in touch with Amrit. He'll make you right. No doubt about that. Check out his link, get your values and linked. And we wish you a fabulous, successful day. I'll see you next Tuesday. And until then, best of luck.